About 2,500 meters down, where sunlight no longer reaches, something is alive. Not a monster, not a myth, a community. White tube worms stand in the dark. Pale crabs move over rock. Clams and mussels crowd around heat coming from inside the earth. This place has no plants, no daylight, and no ordinary food chain. Under the old model, it should have been almost empty. It wasn't. And what scientists found below it would make the word bottom feel wrong. For much of visible life, the story begins with sunlight. Sunlight feeds algae and plants. Algae and plants feed animals. And the farther a world moves from that light, the poorer it seems to become. That was the old map. The deep ocean looked like an ending. Cold water, dark rock, thin food, and pressure rising with every meter. Then a lamp crossed the seafloor and found life gathered around cracks in the earth. In 1977, the submersible Alvin reached the Galapagos Rift and helped reveal a dense, living community around hydrothermal vents. The deep sea was not empty. It was organized around a different source of energy. The blue disappeared. Outside the lamp, the ocean became black. At that depth, a light does not reveal the ocean. It buys a small circle of truth.
The beam widened, and one patch of life became a field. Later, black smoke events made the plumbing visible. Towers of mineral-rich fluid rising from the crust and meeting cold, deep water. The dark plume looked like smoke. It wasn't smoke. It was chemistry in motion. At the surface, plants use sunlight to make food. At vents, microbes use chemical energy from fluids moving through the crust. That process is chemosynthesis. The animals depend on that microbial engine. Tube worms, clams, mussels, crabs. A dense living community gathered around energy that did not come from the sky. The city was not eating sunlight. It was running on chemistry. That was the break in the old map. Not because the animals were magical, because the foundation was different. The first layer of the system was not algae, phytoplankton, or sunlight. It was microbial chemistry, turning the inside of Earth into food. That discovery did more than add strange animals to a catalogue. It changed the kind of habitat biology could imagine.
But the vents were still only the visible part. They were the place where hidden chemistry came out into the open. The deeper question was inside the seafloor. If life could gather around cracks in the ocean floor, what was happening below those cracks? To answer that question, researchers needed a different kind of descent. Not deeper through water, but down through the floor itself with a drill. From here, the story changes. Less open water, more steel, sediment, and pressure. A drill ship holds position above the Pacific. Pipe descends through dark water. Core samples rise from layers most people will never see. Wet sediment, coal-bearing rock, minerals, pore water. Metre after metre below the place we normally call the bottom. In 2012, off the coast of Japan, IODP Expedition 337 recovered samples from as deep as 2,466 metres below the sea floor. That number is the key. Not 2,466 metres below the ocean surface, but 2,466 metres below the sea floor. Below the place the map calls bottom.
Inside those buried layers, researchers found evidence of microbial communities, bacteria and archaea living where the surface world can barely reach. The evidence did not point to a forest or a hidden animal kingdom. It pointed to microbial life, sparse but present. Cells in deep sediment and rock can live with very little energy. Their world is pore space, ancient organic matter, heat, fluid, minerals, and time.
Some of this life may be so slow that a human lifetime is the wrong clock for it. That is what makes it hard to feel. There is no animal looking back into the camera. There is no glowing underground world. There is only a faint biological signal from sediment and rock below the place we call bottom. On the surface, life is fast, bright, and visible. Below the seafloor, it becomes sparse, quiet, hard to see, but not absent. The bottom of the ocean was a boundary for us. It was not a boundary for life. Once you accept that on Earth, the question travels. Hydrothermal vents do not prove life exists anywhere else. Subsea floor microbes do not prove another world is alive, but they change what scientists look for. Europa is wrapped in ice, but evidence points to a global ocean beneath it. Enceladus sprays ocean-derived material into space. If chemistry can power dark habitats on Earth, then sunlight is not the only energy source worth looking for elsewhere. Water, rock, chemistry, and time all matter. The deep ocean turned those words into a better question, not a claim and not proof. So the bottom of the ocean was never just a place, it was an assumption. We assumed darkness meant emptiness. We assumed the great food webs we understood began with sunlight. We assumed the sea floor was where the ocean ended. Then the camera found a community without sunlight. Then the drill brought back rock and sediment with evidence of life. One discovery was visible. Animals gathered in black water. The other was almost silent. Cells buried below the floor. Together, they changed the boundary. The bottom was never the end. It was the start of the question. And in the dark, a lamp still buys only a small circle of truth. Everything beyond it is why we keep looking.